let me tell you a little story here, man. Me and my friends. Let's start back at the beginning. I'll make this a big story here. Let's start back at the beginning. So, growing up, I was never allowed to own gun games, they were called. But the thing was, all of my friends that I grew up with had gun games, and that's like all we played anytime we went over. So I was in this weird dynamic where I grew up with like some of the most prolific FPS games, Halo, COD 4, like just some bangers, right? And I was never allowed to play them at my house, but I could when I went over to my friend's house. So gaming quickly became a really, really social thing for me. And, you know, as time passed, you know, we kind of went through the Halo phase, but then when I kind of got to the age where I could like really start to take gaming a little more seriously, like I wasn't just some like little kid that spilled Coke on my friend's table all the time, which by the way, that is a true story. I did spill Coke on my friend's table. I feel really bad. Coca-Cola, that is. Don't get it twisted. When I was kind of at that age, I started to like get into more of that Call of Duty style. And that's when COD was starting to pop, right? COD 4 came out. That was kind of the game of choice. And then Halo 3 dropped. We kind of went back to Halo for a bit. But something about Call of Duty made it a lot easier just to pick up and play. And I think part of that was because my friend, who was actually like my close friend, it wasn't my brother's friend, it wasn't anybody like else. It was my close friend who was actually my best man at my wedding. He got a PS3 with Black Ops 1, and bro, when I tell you we played the crap out of that game, okay? Black Ops 1 was it for a long time. And, you know, I put so much time into that game. And as years went by, you know, started to get a little older. I still was not allowed to own gun games. And, you know, I started to get a little cheeky with it, right? Because I owned a PS3 at this point. And I was like, hey, are you playing Call of Duty tonight? Can I borrow it if you're not? And I would borrow my friends' Call of Duty copies. And then literally, I would take their Call of Duty copies over to my house and play their Call of Duty, bro. I when I tell you the desperation I had to play Call of Duty back then, it was on another level. It was on another level, bro. It was. And it's a little embarrassing to talk about, but what started to happen was the friend I borrowed it from started to say like, hey man, listen, I kind of need this tonight. I was going to play it. And I was like, okay, I totally get it. Totally get it. It's your game, right? It's your game, not mine. But hey, listen, if you ever want to, like, you know, want to send it my way, listen, I'm all for it. So it started to become reality that like I can't really borrow these games anymore. So I was like, Black Ops 2 was coming out, and I'm like, I'm watching videos on it every day. I'm like enamored with the idea of Black Ops 2. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for Black Ops 2. So what happens is, I go to the midnight release for Black Ops 2. I line up at what was known as Future Shop here in Canada. Doesn't exist anymore because Best Buy completely obliterated it with its iron fist. But regardless, we lined up at a place called Future Shop, and I went to that midnight release at like 6 p.m. and waited there in the cold for 6 hours with my friends. And I texted my parents the whole time. I was like, okay, listen, I'm already here. Can I just please buy it? Can I please buy it? And they're like, no. And I was like, I must be sadistic, because I just sat in that line with my friends while they're all getting Call of Duty, the hardcover edition. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just here for fun. And to be fair, it was fun. It was fun. But dude, the heartbreak I felt when I realized I couldn't get the game and they're all walking out with it and they go home and play it, I'm like, oh. So rough times out there, but you know, I still was very excited about the game. So a little bit of time passes, you know, I do the same thing. I go over to my friend's house, play a ton of it, split screen, that kind of thing. But it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, I love this game so much, I need to get a copy of it. No more. I literally bought DLCs for this game, okay? And I didn't even own it. I bought DLCs for the game for the select times that I would borrow it from friends. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get it. I'm going to buy this game. Now, the problem is I'm a young lad. Okay. I'm not really strapped with cash here. Okay. I've got a little bit. I used to do a little paper route. So, you know, I got a little bit of cashola, but for the most part, I'm pretty, the bank of JJ is kind of running low here. All right. So I did what any unsuspecting young lad would do. I went through my brother's games and I found one named Red Dead Redemption. Now, some of you may know that Red Dead Redemption is actually, I don't know if it is anymore, but at the time, Red Dead Redemption was actually worth a decent amount of money. Like, you could literally sell that used for like 50 bucks and no one would bat an eye. But what I did was I scoured the Craigslist, whatever. We have like a local one here where I live, but basically a marketplace. I scoured the marketplace finding what's the cheapest way I can get a copy of Black Ops 2. And lo and behold, I find this random ad and it says, I want to trade Black Ops 2 for Red Dead Redemption. And I'm like, wait a minute. My brother's got a copy of Red Dead Redemption. He never plays it. And what ends up happening is I'm like, big brain here. Okay. Big brain. I'm going to take that copy and I'm going to freaking sell it and get myself a copy of Black Ops 2 all covert. All right. So the game plan's simple. We got it all figured out. What he proceeds to tell me is, actually, I want an extra 20 bucks with that too. So I was like, okay. 20 bucks, I can manage. I can manage 20 bucks. All right. I get the 20 bucks. I get Red Dead Redemption and I'm like, boom, ready to go. Small problem here. How do I get to this person when I don't drive and my parents can't know about this? Well, what I did was I literally asked Upton's dad, and he'll tell you this. I asked my friend Upton's dad if he could drive me. Actually, no, I didn't ask Upton's dad because no one does that at that age. I asked Upton to ask his dad if we could drive 30 minutes away from where we live to go pick this up, to make this trade. And at the end of the day, after all is said and done, he says yes. And we drive out and I exchange the game. And listen. Is this bad boy right here, baby? Let's go. I absolutely secured the bag. It's kind of a big, oh, wait. This got Black Ops 1 in here. It's not even Black Ops 2, but hey, that's okay. Also, guys, be sure to redeem the code for Nuketown 2025. If you guys have not already, Nuketown 2025 for Black Ops 2, you got a free code there. The long and short of it, that's how I acquired a copy of Black Ops 2, and I eventually just started to play shooting games, even against my parents' orders. So some of you guys may be asking, like, well, wouldn't your parents just like shut you down? Well, I kind of played around. I'd play like when they weren't really around, and the thing is, like, I would borrow it from my friends sometimes, and they wouldn't say anything that time. So like they just thought I kept borrowing it from my friends, but reality is I bought it myself. The crappy part about this story is I found out a year later that copy of Red Dead Redemption 2 was not my brother's. He was borrowing that game from somebody. Now, let's be real here. He didn't play it for like an entire year. And listen, I don't know if he was ever going to give it back to his friend, but a year later, his friend asked for it back. So I'm sitting here like, bro, we sold that game. I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. We sold that game. I don't know what happened, bro. So that never got resolved. There's no end to that. That's just how the story ends. It was just a crappy feeling of like, yeah, I messed up, but you know what? I got to play a lot of Black Ops 2, and Black Ops 2 was my favorite COD of all time. So that's the long, crazy story of how I bought Black Ops 2.